thing with Sally, I could relate to, she was the naughty friend. And so she was the one, she wasn't necessarily vindictive or bad as such. She was just, you know, a real tutu, as we would say. So, you know, it was like China, you know, red flag and a bull, you know, bull in a China shop sort of thing. So for someone like Sally, it was just fun playing the cheeky friend that led you know, the main girl astray. So I guess I could relate to it quite easily because I was quite a naughty little kid. So for me, it was just about being myself. Yeah, Sally was actually very much like I was, actually. Fantastic opportunity. And I got to learn at a young age how to hone your craft and do all these things. And people like Simon Bennett, who was the producer at the time, would always pull you aside. They'd pull you aside and they cared. And they looked after you, and he'd say, you know, they'd be sort of training you for the less is more kind of approach, or, you know, how to make yourself busy in the background, or how to be involved all the time. Because when you're young, you tended to just say your line and go, phew, remembered my line, and just kind of chill out. And you're still in the scene, you know. It was like that. So it was all about that process of being in the scene right to the end and learning your journey as a character. So there was struggles, but there was joy, you know. It's like anything. I really enjoyed it, but I also wasn't ready for it. I liked playing Awhina. I had issues with the fact that, you know, my character, when she came on, it was the first time that a marae had been on Shortland Street. And there was kind of, sometimes the storylines were very convenient to her being Māori. And I kind of felt there was a lot of pressure for a 21-year-old to suddenly walk underneath Lionel's house and find wood, and it was tapu. And she could sense it and no one else could. And it was often when there were storylines to do with Māori things that I would suddenly get lots of work to do, you know. And I really, for me, I kind of wanted to be more of a generic woman, and I've since played generic woman in roles, and it's been quite liberating because there is that tendency to be a Māori actor, but I'm a New Zealand woman, you know. I loved it. Again, it's that, well, the budgets, you walk on set, you know, you just have to look at the tea tray to know that it's going to be good, you know, lunch is coming, you know. It was things like that where you go from that next level of, and also big weight producers, and the sets are amazing, and there's trailers, and you've got Lucy Lawless walking around, and it's just, it's really, really cool. It was kind of surreal, actually, because I always knew her as the lady off the Getaway shows, you know, and so it was kind of like, check you out, you know. You've gone from that to, you know, a superstar. Oh no, it's not just in America, around the world. And yet she was still very grounded and quite ethereal. The way she held herself on set was quite ethereal and very calming. And I was very envious too, because you kind of go, wow. So we'd stop because Lucy needed to breastfeed. The whole production would just stop, and you just go, that is awesome, right? To get to that point where you have so much respect and so much power in what you do, and appreciation, like they realise without Xena, without Lucy, there's no Xena, right? So it's incorporating all that and just going, wow, it's something to aspire to, really. I can honestly say that Mercy Peak was the one show where I realised I did want to be an actor as a career. Until then, I'd been so indifferent to it, so all over the place, just living. And I looked around one day and I clicked, and I sort of went, holy heck, that's Tim Balm and that's Jeffrey Thomas. And the first job I ever had was with them. And they're still going. So it kind of, and that was 10 years earlier or something like that, and I kind of went, the penny dropped, and I was like, wow, you can actually do this as a career and survive if you appreciate it and you work at it. Yeah, and then from there, just everyone commanded so much out of each other, but it was a safe commandment. It was more like, because we all respected each other so much, I never felt like, because I was the youngest in the core cast, but it never felt like that. I just felt like we were all looking after each other, and we had so many great times, and everyone was proud of it. The writers were proud of it, the producers, everyone on set was just, it's so special to forge on and go, wow, we've got a second season, and then we've got a third, you know. And I liked that it was a rural setting. So a lot of people on the street just really related to that as well. And it was just an honest show. There were some honest, lovable characters in there. Johnny, my partner, was great, it went from being really, really fun at first to then everyone was really competitive. So halfway through it was kind of like a little bit, as you do, it's healthy competitiveness. And then once we had to learn 2 dances a week, the pressure was just so intense because you're not just learning 2 dances a week, you're learning them to competition level. So most people train like that for weeks and weeks and weeks to get their dance right, to get them to a competition. We had 6 days to do it, and we'd be there 6 hours a day just training. It was really hard. I cracked my ribs sort of into halfway through, so I was always strapped up, and it was painful and all those things, but it was really amazing. The hardest thing was standing there just before you're about to go on and they announce your name, and there's just so much dread because you know that 800,000 people plus are watching you and critiquing you. So it's hard to get that out of your mind when you know, everyone says, oh, but you know, it's just give it your best shot. It's all for charity. It's kind of like, it doesn't feel like it's a charity. It's like, it's survival, man. It's kind of like, it really is personal to you because you feel so vulnerable out there because you got to get it right. One shot, you can't just ask for another take like you can in acting. So it was hard. I just went into the audition, you know, I had the red glasses. I went and bought some red glasses, dyed my hair black because it was all sunstreaks, it had been summer. Got the suits, got the gaudy earrings, so got that kind of thing. And then I got a whole lot of footage. I just Googled a whole lot of footage on the case and just watched her, and her voice was key. Really, really key was her voice because it was really quite deep and really quite different, and she was quite polarising as a person. When I prepared myself, I really kind of made myself very internal and unapologetic and very hardened. So I practiced a lot on being alone. Yeah, so I'd shut myself in my room for 2 days in a row just before the audition and took on smoking and just really went there in a way that was just hatred kind of, but then I didn't want to be hating. I wanted to be, and so internal, I wanted it all to be in there so that there was this massive struggle. Because when you watched it, I think the nation kind of didn't warm to her. They were like, she just doesn't, she's so cold. She's so, you know, no one could understand how a woman could be so controlled, but you have to understand that this woman is a power woman. And you know, you could, when you understood her backstory, because we had the liberty of giving quite a lot of background stuff on her, and you watched in her eyes, you knew there was a lot of pain going on in there, but she wouldn't ever let it show. She's a very proud woman. She was nurtured from a young age to be, you know, one of the leaders, one of the great leaders. So there was a lot more going on than just, hey, you know, pride for whoever took her baby. It was about the history and the responsibility that she'd been brought up with. So for me, it was just a bit about totally being away from people who made me smile, being away from friends and that, and just going there and kind of fighting for it. I played Delwyn Keefe. It was great working with Mark Mitchinson. He played Jan Molyneux, and he made it safe for me, you know, and we were determined to find a love for them. So that people don't just judge, they don't go, what heathenous, horrible people. Somewhere in there you've got to find empathy for these people, whether you agree with it or not. You've got to kind of find an empathy to understand why people do what they do. It doesn't make it all right, it just makes it how it is. And so we kind of had to find that for ourselves as well. We had to feel okay about portraying them so that we're not glorifying it, but we're actually just kind of being in it for 3 days. And at the end, like Mike Smith said with the director, I didn't care if no one liked me at the end. That wasn't my journey, that wasn't my arc. It was the 3 probably worst days that Delwyn's ever had of her life. So if I come across like a complete bitch, then hey, so be it. A lot of people think to this day she still is. So for me, it wasn't about justifying them, but rather just being in there for those 3 days and kind of walking out and hoping we'd done a good job, because there was a massive responsibility to so many people, and it was so soon since the event. So having some, you know, being sensitive to it as well. And yeah, it's really challenging when you do something like that because of the responsibility behind it.